Just a short message just to let you know that after 11 years with Salvage Hunters, I've decided it's time to move on. Been lucky enough over the years to work with some amazing crew, but visited some stunning locations and filmed with some lovely people. So thank you all for watching.
He wasn't the star. He didn't negotiate the deals or own the antiques shop. He drove the van, and somehow he became the one everybody loved. For over a decade, John T. was the heartbeat of Salvage Hunters. Calm where Drew was chaotic. Funny where the show was serious. Real when reality TV rarely is. And then, just like that, he was gone. No scandal, screaming headlines, or messy public fallout. Just silence. So what actually happened to T? We're pulling back the curtain. Stay with us. The quiet bloke who stole the show. Let's set the scene. When Salvage Hunters first hit British screens in 2011, nobody could have predicted who the breakout would be. The show had Drew Pritchard, sharp, restless, deal-obsessed, a self-styled 21st century treasure hunter who could spot a priceless Victorian fireplace underneath 30 years of grime. He was the main event, the brand. The show was built around his eye, his energy, his charisma. Simple format. Drew hunts, Drew haggles, Drew wins, roll credits. But something happened that nobody planned for. When John T. joined the production around Season 8 in 2016, bearded, deadpan, utterly unbothered by the cameras pointed at him, he started stealing scenes without even trying. Fans couldn't get enough of him. What made T so compelling was how unpolished he felt compared to everything else on television at the time. By the mid-2010s, reality TV had already figured itself out. People knew how to perform reality. They knew how to play to the camera, how to exaggerate reactions, how to turn every small moment into something dramatic. T did none of that. If anything, he seemed mildly annoyed by the whole concept of being filmed. And weirdly, that made him magnetic. There are moments scattered across the series where you can literally see him clock the absurdity of a situation. Standing in a freezing warehouse, hauling a piece of rusted metal that may or may not sell. And instead of hyping it up, he just reacts like a normal person would. That authenticity is incredibly rare. Online forums, YouTube comments, even casual viewers all echoed the same thing. T felt real, not TV real, actually real. And in a show built around uncovering hidden treasures, it turned out one of the most valuable things they found was him. Think about what that means in context. By the time T joined the show, British audiences had already been through over a decade of the post-Big Brother reality TV era. People had watched housemates calculate their edit, watched contestants cry on cue, watched ordinary people transform overnight into people performing ordinariness for a camera. The artifice was baked in. Even the shows that presented themselves as unscripted had a choreographed quality. Moments staged just enough, reactions held just long enough for the cameras to catch them cleanly. Viewers had become fluent in the grammar of it. They could spot the performance even when they couldn't quite name it, which is exactly why T hit differently. He wasn't playing the role of the grounded, no-nonsense sidekick. He just was one. And there's no faking that, no matter how good your producers are. In a TV landscape drowning in performed reactions and exaggerated surprise, T was refreshingly, stubbornly himself. When Drew got worked up over a rusting iron gate or a crumbling church pew, T would give the camera this look, barely a raised eyebrow, maybe the ghost of a smirk, that communicated volumes without a single word. He was the audience's proxy, the grounded, practical everyman riding shotgun on a very peculiar adventure. His role was never glamorous on paper. He drove from location to location, stately homes, abandoned factories, salvage yards in the middle of nowhere. He shifted heavy, awkward pieces of industrial salvage. He handled logistics with quiet efficiency, fixing problems before most people noticed they existed. And through all of it, he deployed a dry, understated wit that had viewers rewinding clips just to catch what he'd said under his breath. The chemistry between Drew and T became the show's secret weapon. Drew was fire, always moving, always hunting, never satisfied. T was water, steady, cool, practically impossible to rattle. Together they created a dynamic that felt lived in a way that no producer can manufacture. Audiences felt it viscerally. Fan forums buzzed about the classic T and Drew seasons. Comment sections filled up with people insisting the show had something genuinely special during those years. Over the course of his run, T became not just a supporting player, but a defining piece of Salvage Hunters' identity. So how did a man like this end up on television in the first place? And more importantly, who was he before the cameras found him? 11 years, one van, and one unlikely TV partnership. By the time most people have spent 11 years doing the same job, they've either moved up or moved on. John T. did neither, and the show was better for it. He came on board without any television background, without a media agent, and without, as far as anyone can tell, any particular ambition to become a recognizable face on British TV. He was simply Drew's real-life mate, the kind of friend you can trust to actually show up when there's half a ton of reclaimed timber to shift before dawn. In the antiques world, that kind of reliability is rarer than a genuine Macintosh chair at a car boot sale. His official credit on the show? Driver and Deliverer, which is, without question, the most modest title ever given to someone who became a bona fide fan favorite. Because T wasn't just driving, not by a long shot. He was scouting locations, weighing up pieces alongside Drew, troubleshooting mechanical failures mid-shoot, rerouting entire filming days when plans collapsed, and doing all of this while keeping Drew's more impulsive instincts from completely derailing the schedule. He was the logistical backbone the show never properly acknowledged. What made him compelling on screen was precisely that he wasn't performing. He had no acting training, no carefully constructed TV persona, no rehearsed lines. He was just there, present, doing the actual job. And the camera responded to that authenticity in a way it rarely does to people who are trying. The Drew and T dynamic deepened season by season into something that felt genuinely warm. Long drives gave them hours of unscripted conversation. The shorthand that develops between old friends, the half-finished sentences, the knowing glances, the jokes that don't need a setup, translated onto screen as something money genuinely cannot buy. Fans called it the bromance, entirely wholesome, entirely real. And it worked because the contrast was so clean. Drew is a man constitutionally incapable of standing still. He walks into a room and immediately begins cataloging it. What's salvageable, what's undervalued, what tells a story worth chasing. His energy is kinetic and relentless, and on screen, that's compelling to watch. But it can also be exhausting. And part of what made the show work so well during T's tenure was the counterweight he provided. Where Drew accelerated, T braked. Where Drew enthused, T raised an eyebrow. It gave the audience somewhere to land, a perspective inside the show that matched their own experience of watching someone get extremely worked up about a Victorian tile press. This wasn't a guest slot. This was a decade-plus commitment from a man who never made a fuss about any of it, which makes what happened next all the more striking. But first, who was John T. before Salvage Hunters came along? The man before the van. Early life. Here's the thing about John T. He guards his private life the same way Drew Pritchard guards a good deal, fiercely, and with minimal explanation to anyone. He has no social media presence. He doesn't do press. He doesn't give interviews or make appearances outside the show. So piecing together his life before Salvage Hunters is a bit like doing salvage work itself. You find fragments, you work carefully, and you're honest about the gaps. What the available record suggests is that T is a British working man through and through. His roots are practical and unglamorous in the best possible sense. Whatever his background before television, the evidence of it is all over how he carries himself on screen. A man who knows how to fix things with his hands, who reads a space quickly, who doesn't mistake talking about something for doing it. His friendship with Drew predates the show, which is an important detail. Drew didn't hire a TV personality and slot him into a pre-existing role. He brought along someone he already knew and trusted, someone who could handle the physical and logistical realities of trailing an antiques dealer across the UK week after week in all weathers without losing either their temper or their sense of humor. That's a specific kind of person. Not everybody qualifies. T's apparent familiarity with industrial metalwork, reclaimed tools, and practical problem-solving, things central to how he operated on the show, suggest a working background built around craft and hands-on expertise. He is, in the truest sense, a craftsman's craftsman, someone who learned his trade by doing it, not studying it. What we don't have, and this is worth saying plainly, is verified detail about his age, birthplace, or personal history. Figures and biographical details have circulated online, but none have been confirmed by T himself or by anyone close to him. And given that this is a man who spent years telling the world nothing about his private life, that's not surprising. It's just worth being straight about. What we can say is that whoever John T was before the cameras arrived, he brought every bit of it onto the screen, and it resonated with millions of people precisely because it was real. Now, the show was thriving, the partnership was beloved. So what changed? A quiet exit, and what we actually know. For most of its run, Salvage Hunters projected an image of one of the more harmonious shows on British television. No explosive fallouts, no tabloid meltdowns, no warring factions leaking stories to the press. Just two mates, a van, and an inexhaustible love of forgotten things. And when T's exit eventually came, it followed the same pattern: quiet, undramatic, and almost frustratingly lacking in scandal. The confirmed version of events is straightforward. When it came time to negotiate for the upcoming season, T did not extend his contract. By mid-2023, it was settled. He was stepping away. There was no public falling out, no leaked bitterness, no dramatic creative differences cited by anyone on either side. The framing from all parties was consistent: an amicable parting, a man choosing his own path after a long run. Clean, simple, and for a show that had always kept its behind-the-scenes life private, entirely in character. Now, the internet, as it always does, tried to find a deeper story. Fan forums ran hot with speculation about whether T's reported friendship with Rebecca Pritchard, Drew's ex-wife, had somehow complicated crew dynamics or contributed to his exit. Some corners went further than that, but here's what can actually be confirmed: nothing. Rebecca and Drew's 2017 divorce was attributed to Drew's own affair with another woman, not anything involving T. Rebecca and T were colleagues. Neither of them, nor Drew, has ever said anything publicly to suggest otherwise. So let's call the wilder speculation what it is: fan fiction, entertaining maybe, substantiated, not even slightly. What is real is this: after 11 years, a man who never sought the spotlight simply chose not to renew. And that, unglamorous as it sounds, is the whole story. The exit that broke the fans. In July 2023, Salvage Hunters fans got the kind of update nobody ever really prepares for. Quest TV dropped a short statement on social media. Polite, respectful, and honestly kind of devastating if you'd been watching for years. It read, T has decided to leave Salvage Hunters after 11 years on the road. We'd like to thank T for bringing his dry wit and gentle charm to all he has done for the series and wish him all the best in his future endeavors. Clean, simple, final. No drama, no explanation. Just a quiet full stop on a very long chapter. Then came the farewell video. And if you know John T, you already know the vibe. No theatrics, no emotional speech. Just T, exactly as he's always been. Bearded, calm, slightly amused by the whole thing. He thanked the crew, reflected on the years, mentioned the places he'd been and the people he'd met. And then he signed off with that perfectly T line, au revoir. But remember, we'll always have Patina Turner. Funny, understated, and somehow it made it harder. Because even in his goodbye, He wasn't giving anything away. No hints, no behind-the-scenes revelations. Just a man closing the door quietly. The reaction was immediate and loud. Social media filled up fast. Fans sharing clips, favorite moments, inside jokes that only longtime viewers would understand. A lot of people weren't just disappointed. They felt like something genuinely important had ended, because for them, it had. T wasn't just part of the show. He was the feeling of the show. It's worth pausing on that for a second, because it speaks to something real about how audiences bond with supporting characters. T was never the protagonist. He never drove the plot. He didn't find the pieces, negotiate the price, or deliver the triumphant close-up when a sale went through. By any conventional metric of television importance, he was peripheral. And yet, when he left, the response from fans wasn't, "I'll miss that guy." It was closer to grief. The specific, slightly embarrassing grief you feel when something that quietly made your life better disappears without warning. People post about this kind of thing on forums in slightly self-conscious terms, aware that they're mourning a man they never met, who appeared on a show about antiques, who mostly drove a van. And yet the feeling is real, because T represented something genuine in a medium that too rarely delivers it. When the next seasons rolled around, something felt different to those fans. Drew Pritchard was still there, the deals were still happening, but that quiet, effortless chemistry in the van wasn't something that could simply be reassigned. The show has continued and continued successfully, but for a significant portion of the audience, the T-shaped gap never quite filled. New faces came in, did their jobs, but the rhythm had changed. Some fans stuck around out of loyalty. Others slowly drifted. Meanwhile, T? Nothing. No interviews, no tell-all stories, no sudden reappearance on another show. Just silence. And somehow, that silence said more than anything else could. The man who walked away. Here's the part of the story that deserves more attention. Everything we actually know about John T's life after Salvage Hunters suggests a man entirely at peace with the decision he made. He has maintained complete privacy since his exit. No social media, no press, no public appearances. He hasn't resurfaced on another production, hasn't given the behind-the-scenes interview that fans have quietly been hoping for, and hasn't done anything to suggest he misses the attention, which, if you watched him for 11 years on screen, is exactly what you'd expect. This was never a man performing reluctant fame. This was a man who tolerated the cameras because the work alongside Drew was worth it. And when that chapter closed, he closed it. There's something almost countercultural about that in the current moment. We live in an era where the default move after any kind of public profile, however modest, however accidental, is to monetize it. Start a podcast, launch a YouTube channel, build a personal brand, announce a collaboration. Even the most low-key television personalities tend to maintain at least a token Instagram presence, a window left just slightly open. T didn't just decline to do any of that. He appears to have walked in the opposite direction entirely. No window, no crack in the door. Just a man who had something of a public life for a decade, decided he was done with it and meant it. In a world optimized for visibility, that's a radical act. What comes after? Honestly, we don't know, and that's worth saying clearly. Various accounts have circulated online about T's post-show life, his whereabouts, his health, what he's been doing with his time, but none of it has been confirmed by T himself. And a man this committed to his privacy deserves to have that respected rather than papered over with unverified rumor presented as fact. What we can say is that nobody who watched him for a decade would be surprised if he landed somewhere quiet, practical, and entirely off the grid. That would be entirely on brand. What's undeniable is this. John T spent 11 years being indispensable to someone else's show. Drew's deals, Drew's van, Drew's vision. He showed up, did the work, made millions of people laugh without apparently trying, and then walked away on his own terms without a single dramatic gesture. In an industry built on people desperately clinging to relevance, that is genuinely rare. Not a cautionary tale, not a tragedy, just a man who knew who he was, knew what he was there for, and knew when it was time to go. Whatever he's doing now, and we genuinely don't know, the quiet suits him. So that's the real story of John T., as much of it as can actually be told. A man who was never chasing the spotlight, lost it without drama, and walked away without looking back. No tell-all, no bitter interviews, no reality TV comeback. Just an amicable contract end, a graceful goodbye, and then nothing. Which, if you think about it, is the most John T. ending imaginable. Honestly, that might be the most dignified exit in the history of British reality TV. If you want more deep dives on the stars who walked away and what they found, hit subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comments, and stay close. Next one's coming, and trust us, you'll want to be here for it.